Howdy guys, welcome back to Deal by Deal episode 46, and this one was in 2019, so about 6 years ago. And I've got Dominique Park joining me. Not knowing too much about the story, we're going to be talking about motivated sellers on this one. So as a realtor, we're always looking for motivated sellers, and even more so when we're doing an investment deal. So this lady called. She had gotten my number from somebody who said maybe I was the only one who could fix her problem because she had to sell her house real fast, which is the motivation that we're looking for if we're looking for a good deal on an investment. Also, just as a realtor. And she called me and was almost immediately crying over the phone because of how emotional the situation was. It's not super uncommon for people to cry during a transaction, sometimes happy tears, sometimes not. But she was just absolutely frazzled in every way. So she owned the house for quite a while, and then sometime after she owned the house, she ended up getting married. And so she moves this guy in and gets married, and it didn't work out. He was not a quality spouse. And I'm hearing most of this from her side of the story, but from what I was getting from him and everything else, it was pretty clear what the problem was there. So she had left the house, left the relationship, and was in the middle of a pretty messy separation, which obviously tons of emotion there. As realtors, we deal with that fairly often and try to maintain calmness and everything the best that we can. As she left the house that was her house to begin with, he was going to pay the bills and take care of the place while she wasn't there anymore. And so a couple weeks before foreclosure, or maybe more than a couple weeks, but not much more, she gets notified that it's foreclosing. So not only is she in the middle of this crazy situation with the divorce and separation, and she had to leave her own home. Now she realizes that it's getting foreclosed on, which is her credit, her equity, the whole 9 yards.
That's unfortunate. So my question would be, why didn't she have that on auto pay?
Well, she may have before she moved out, but it was her place for years and years, and he was going to take care of the place.
Okay.
In hindsight, she should have known better, but since he was the one staying there, he was staying there. He was going to pay the bills and take care of the place and fix it up and all the things. Nothing that he ever said was true, so in hindsight, she should have known better, but she just trusted him like she always did, and that was the main part of the problem there.
Yeah.
So he was going to be taking care of the place, and he was physically at the place. So I had to get a hold of him to go take a look, and I've got to act, like a nice guy, even though I just heard what kind of guy he is. And
You're a pretty nice guy.
I'm all right. So I show up, and this guy is basically a hoarder, but it's mostly in the yard because the house isn't very big, and there's piles of pallets and debris, and he'll bring home cinder blocks and pipes and. Sounds hypocritical because I hoard all that stuff too, but I'm buying and selling houses all the time, so like there's a few
and you're paying your mortgage.
Yeah, if there's extra lumber left over, it goes in the Connex and we try to reuse it. But this guy just had stacks and stacks of stuff all over the place, random mismatched stuff, and he wasn't paying the mortgage, wasn't paying the utilities, it wasn't frozen up because it was springtime, but I think the utilities were off. Then we go through the house, and he had started everything and finished nothing. So like the typical half the wall is painted. He was trying to do real nice tile flooring across the living room. He got halfway through and stopped like 4 years ago. So I understand projects don't always get done on the timeline, but he did half of the tile and just left it. And he was talking it up like how great of a contractor he is, and I'm looking around and it was crap. If you guys are enjoying hearing about these local investments right here in Alaska, please like and subscribe this channel or anywhere you see this, and give us a call or text if you need to buy or sell a house, of course. But anyways, I negotiated a deal to buy it. I don't remember the exact numbers, but this place needed a ton of work. It needed roofing, it needed boiler work, it needed the flooring, the windows. We added an extra bathroom. It just needed so much, and all the debris and haul off and stuff. And this was several years ago, the market was less. So I think we bought it for around $100,000, if I remember right. Whatever the dollar amount was, the equity was going to be about $5,000. Basically, they owed all that, which was a shame because the house could have been, if it would have been maintained, they'd have had a really nice chunk of equity, but it just wasn't. And they had to sell like immediately.
You said we bought it.
We bought it. So at the time, what I was doing for a lot of my deals is I was using private money, which I still use a lot. And I had this one private money investor who kept coming back with money a couple times a year. He had a business that he was doing really well in. He was a partner, and so once or twice a year, I'd have a project and he'd lend some money into it as a investor and just get paid back monthly, like a mortgage with good interest. So that's how he was making money. Well, I called him up and said, hey, I got this opportunity. It's a little bit bigger. I was looking for around 100. And he said, okay, because a lot of them were smaller than that. He said, well, I got a neat situation. He said, I just sold my business to the other partner. I just sold my half, so I've got money and time. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I'd love a project this summer. And he was skilled because his business was in the trades, and he had other trade skills. And he's like, well, what if I bring the money and you brought the deal, and I'll go over there and work on it and get this thing turned around. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So he brought the money and the work, and I brought the deal. And I feel like I got the better end of that, but I think that they felt like they did really good too, because for him, it was an opportunity both to stay busy, doing something he liked to do, and he had his kids, his teenagers over there working on it, for a few months, helping them with all the things that we knew there was to fix and all the things that we didn't know there was to fix. They were able to get out there and learn some skills. So he had a great time doing it, I think, and we both made pretty good money. So it was pretty cool. So that's what I mean was was me and that partner.
Sounds like a win-win.
It felt pretty good. And then of course my job was to find and structure the deal, and then also to sell it and find the buyer at the end, which I did. And when I do partnerships like that, I'm not charging a commission when I sell it. That's my part of the deal there. And I helped a tiny amount on the labor, like I think I took a couple loads of garbage away or whatever, but very little. So that's how that worked. But it was sad because this loser that was there, there was $5,000 give or take in equity in the house because of how it had been treated, and I had to scramble for money to get it closed really quick and before foreclosure. And so this $5,000, this lady who owned the house for like 15 years or something, she's just like, I don't care, he can have it as long as I get my stuff back. All I want is my heirlooms. I've got a shotgun from like her dad or something, I've got some jewelry from mom or grandma. Like she had some things there that were of reasonable value but meant a hell of a lot to her. And so he thought that there's more equity in it, and he thought he should have all of it because he did such a good job and was taking care of it, whatever the hell that meant, because he wasn't. And so they agreed that he could have the $5,000, which meant nothing to her. She was over it, and she would get her stuff back. And so when we closed the deal, they were a married couple. I don't know if they were divorced at the time yet or not, but they were a married couple living in the house. So we had the title company write the check to him and her so that he couldn't deposit that check until she signed off on it. And so he didn't understand that. So the deal closes, he gets the check, and he calls her up, and she's like, well, I need my stuff back. And turns out he had long pawned it. So her family heirlooms were gone. And they were fighting over that check for a while, and cops were involved, and he was cussing me out, and I'm like...
Was it written in the contract that way? That he would have to return her belongings, or is that just a verbal?
We didn't put it in the real estate contract because I'm the buyer, you guys are the sellers. What you do in your world with your money is your
personal
business.
possessions.
Yeah. So I think it was clear that was the deal, whether they had it in writing. Like he agreed to it knowing that he had already sold it, and he figured he'd get his check.
Obviously, he's a seller guy.
Yeah, real quality stand-up gentleman right there.
Yeah.
And so there was domestic violence after closing about that, and cops were involved. It was crazy, and he's calling me up all pissed, and I'm like, go get lost, like, don't ever show up here again. This is not my problem that you couldn't hold up your end of the deal. And he's like, well, the title company needs to rewrite the check. I'm like, well, call the title company. It's their problem now. Sorry, my title friends. My bad. But I'm not, I can't rewrite the check, and they can't either. It was made out to both of them. They can't arbitrarily say it's going to this one or that one.
Yeah, that needs to be settled in court or between themselves.
Exactly. If two people own a property, the title company can't sell it and just give it to one of them.
I do have another question. Since she owned it prior to being married, I know he lived in it with her, but does that change the ownership at all as far as who gets the equity out of it?
That's a really complicated question, and generally they would have to split it.
But if he never lived in it, that would change the situation.
If she owned it and they never lived in it, then it's hers before marriage. And by the way, we're not lawyers, so we're just going by what we've seen, helping hundreds and hundreds of people, and quite a few of them are selling when there is a divorce or situation. So my understanding is the answer is it depends, and most of the time. But most of the time, if she owned it as an investment property before they got married, it would probably be considered more of hers. But if they bought it while they were married, or if they lived in it together as a married couple, then it's kind of community. But in practice, if it's a divorce to the level that there's attorneys involved, they can hash that out and say, they would have a good argument that she owned it for 15 years as it appreciated, and then he showed up for 10 minutes and they were only living there together for a month, which wasn't the case in this scenario. But I think that they would try to argue that out and say most of the house should be hers, most of this car should be his because he bought it, so they'll hash that out, and eventually the judge is going to have to make a decision on what they think is fair within the parameters of the law. So again, not attorneys here, but we've just seen so much over selling houses for 13 years, and there's been a lot of divorces there. So that was like the quintessential motivated seller. She called me up, was literally crying on the phone. I remember where I was in 2019. I remember I was on Vine Road when she called, and I pulled over to take notes, and she was crying within minutes. It was intense. And the whole situation didn't get a whole lot better. It's funny now. It was not a great place. I do know that she is doing much better now though too, because I've talked to her since, so that's good. But when you're looking for a motivated seller, the divorce and the foreclosure are high on the list. You put them both together with a little bit of domestic abuse type of situation. Like, this lady had to sell immediately, particularly because of the divorce.
And how long?
The foreclosure was like imminent.
How long until the foreclosure date from the day that you got the phone call?
I remember it was less than a month. I don't remember if it was 2 weeks or 3 or whatever, but like I had to go over there immediately and negotiate a deal and get title open immediately. Like it was like, we need to start moving on this.
And then you
today.
bought it as a partnership.
Yep, I bought it as a partnership, and when we sold it, I think we sold it for around $200, and we did pretty good because the labor was free from the partner. If we'd have hired it all out, we wouldn't have made as much money. He went to go redo the roofing and realized that the roof underneath needed work too, and I've got that on one of my properties right now too. So all of a sudden, instead of that quote that you got for the roof, now it's a lot more. So we did have
Was it like the boards were rotten, things like that?
Yeah, there were some soft spots and that needed to be repaired. And so what the roof was twice as much as we thought, and if it would have been professional roofers, it would have been a fortune. But he was doing it up there with his son. Same with the boiler situation and kind of everything. We were just paying for materials because his part of the deal was the labor, and so. We made a pretty good chunk on it. We sold it for somewhere in the neighborhood of $200. We didn't have too much into materials, but he had several months worth of labor.
And remind me, you bought it for how much?
We bought it for around $100, sold it for around $200. I think we made like 75 grand on it. So we spent like 25 on materials or something, and then all the labor, and then of course a good profit there. So we split that. Everybody was really happy. The buyer was happy with the property too. Pretty affordable place, good spot. So yeah, just one of those situations where you can get a good deal if people are in a hurry and motivated and the property needs work. Like, this was a perfect storm of motivation. The house, the situation, and the situation. And the situation, it was just, crazy. But you have to be in a position and have the knowledge, either the knowledge or the position to be able to jump on something like that and form a partnership, and which is not too difficult, but you gotta know the people or have that all lined up beforehand for the most part.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, it worked out well. We did just sell that with a bank loan. We didn't owner finance it, so we just took our chunk and paid our taxes and moved on. So it's a pretty cool deal.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And hey, if you guys like this video, make sure you like and subscribe to Tyler's channel.
Yep, and if you're looking to buy or sell a house, please give us a call or text us. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.